Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of Cracking the Rich Code, the podcast. I am your host, John Verico. And yes, I know I say this all the time. I have a very special guest, but this one, I'm going to tell you over the top, you're going to fall in love with this guest because she's not your traditional type of person that you would think is going to be in Cracking the Rich Code. She's not one of these not a coach or a health or a financial person. Would you believe a kindergarten teacher? Join me now and let's fall in love with Tammy Vallieres. Tammy, come on in. There she is. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, and thank you. Thank you for the warm welcome. I appreciate that so much.
Tammy, you are known as the hero teacher. And, for somebody who doesn't have children, anyone who can deal with whole classrooms full of little ones, it just absolutely amazes me. And you are my hero. So let's chat a little bit about, how did you wind up coming into the Cracking the Rich Code? How did you find out about it? And let's just start from there.
Wow. So, where does my story begin, right? To me, everything starts with a story. And so I love storytelling. I love, my introduction into how did I become the hero intelligence teacher, right? Because that was my call to action. If I go right back to my awakening for myself, it was when a dove hit my window on 11/11/11. I was standing at the front of my class, and we were all silent and still. The whole school was silent and still. And this dove just hits the window, and it was like a gunshot, and it woke me up. And so it's something that took my breath away. I was very nervous and upset about it too, because the symbolism of these poppies and doves everywhere. And then at that moment it strikes, it was like, this didn't feel random. It felt like intentional. And so I go home and I start like Googling 11/11/11 and the symbolism of a dove. And it was interesting because what came up on Google at that time was 11 represents the vision, 22 is vision plus action, and 33 offers guidance to the world.
Right.
And so here I am now. I've got one foot in education, and I actually do have the other foot in entrepreneurial and personal growth and development and in the coaching world. And the beauty of these two worlds is that I was able to pivot back and forth and bring a lot of what we learn in the personal growth and development world into the classroom. And that crossover over the last 20 years has really been extraordinary, because I'm meeting very strong thought leaders like yourself and people within the Cracking the Rich Code. And that's a very different world than it is in the educational world. So being able to have that crossover and the perspectives and having the entrepreneurial mindset is really impactful in education. And I really believe there should be more personal growth and development, and that those teaching, coaching woven into the school system.
I love it. And I intentionally downplayed the coaching side of things because I wanted to have some fun with the introduction and emphasize, the kindergarten and primary school part of what you do, which is kind of a big part of what you do, because you have brought self-talk, emotional intelligence, hero intelligence into the minds of the littlest ones. And, kind of helping kids to form their identity at an early age with kind of a different mindset. And I know one of the ways you did this was through your own book, and we can go directly into talking about Harmony Hair now, or we could talk a little bit more about kind of the concepts that you put together for this first.
Absolutely. So I've been fortunate to be in part of in the book Cracking the Rich Code, chapter 14. And what our chapter 3 was about is bringing hero intelligence to use and to help raising empowered kids. So hero intelligence is my creation. I'm the visionary of it. And for me, it comes back to, it started with my story, because when that dove hit my window, I felt like that was my call to action, my hero's call to action. And that old part of me died and this new part of me was born. And it was scary. I remember how scared I was at that whole thing. Like, who am I? I'm not very smart. I wasn't confident. I had to grow over the last 20 years to become the hero intelligence teacher, grow in confidence and grow in skill set and ability. But I truly love the work of Joseph Campbell's work. And that one thing is the common denominator, that we all have this hero inside of us. And so as I emerged into the hero and I started to use that hero language into the classroom, I started to see children transform. It was first transforming in me, and then I was seeing it transform in them. And I thought, there's some magic in this. And I want to figure out how to bottle this up. And so it became this, curiosity and sense of wonder of how can I use more of this? And again, I mean, I don't take credit on this on my own, because I've been working with the most amazing people, in the community and over the years that have helped really shape and give this form. But what I've done is, put it all in one place and build it into a system of structure that we can really leverage and use and have as a common language now. So that's the
Hero Intelligence Roadmap, right?
That is the Hero Intelligence Roadmap. And so
for people who are watching the YouTube version, I'm going to try to put the visual on the screen as we talk through it. And those of you who are on audio, we will tell you the cues, the word cues that we're discussing.
Well, and the thing is,
this work.
Yeah. And so a lot of my degree and background, John, is psychology, positive psychology. And so a lot of people just don't normally understand psychology. They haven't gone to get a degree in it. This language isn't common for them. So my big thing, and one of my superpowers, is how do you take really advanced concepts like positive psychology, and how do you break it down into the smallest common denominator so that everybody can understand this? And the biggest thing is I was doing all this personal growth and development as an adult, having to undo my beliefs, my patterns, my habits, my mindset at the older age. And I was like, but imagine if I would have had these tools, these resources, this language at the beginning, right? And so being positioned in kindergarten, I was like, wow, just imagine if every kindergarten student around the world had a book or a tool or resources or this inside information, and it was deliberate. It wasn't by default. And that's it. We go a lot of times, if we don't have tools and resources, we just go into the natural default. So I was like, wow, what would be the world? So that became the dream in my heart, is to create a resource like this, starting with very young children and then practicing in the classroom day in and day out of how to make it so easy and fun and engaging that they embody it, they learn it. And so that's basically what I've been able to do.
And that's pretty amazing. And you through that, you created the character of Harmony Hare and have this amazing book out called Harmony Hare and Her Three Voices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so fun. So that was it. Here's what I was saying too, is I had a degree in this. I live, breathe, sleep, eat this stuff. And I couldn't find a resource that I could use in the classroom, because these resources for self-talk and mental health was usually in the corrective measures, more at the older level, onset of struggle. And I was like, but why do we have to wait until children are struggling with their mental health and self-talk? Why aren't we teaching them these and giving them resources and tools, especially if self-talk is the foundation where everything else is built, like our beliefs, our habits, our identity is all built from self-talk. And we've normalized emotions. We all have emotions, anger, sadness, fear, anxiety, all these emotions. And there's many books out there, but before even our emotions is the self-talk, because how we're talking to ourselves then invokes an emotion and then the action. So it's our thoughts, which is even more than just self-talk, thoughts is still abstract for a child, But if we put it into self-talk and then build it into an identity, it gives children more concrete ways to learn. So I was trying to find these books and I couldn't find one. So I was like, well, I'm just going to create it myself. And because I was in the arena and in the classroom every single day, co-creating with these amazing children and testing it out, and then testing it out with other early childhood educators and teachers, it took shape and form. And so from there, we were able to create the book Harmony Hare and Her Three Voices, giving her little voices a color, right? So we can identify with the victim voice when we're in our sad little victim self and we feel, scared or nervous. What does that sound like, right? And so we think of, sad and scared as like blue, right? And then when we're fiery, mad, and angry, we gave it red. And then when we're hopeful and calm and confident, we gave it yellow. So basically, I say they become our three primary voices. We have three primary voices that we are always talking to ourselves, and we could categorize them as our primary voices. And then I say we also have three secondary voices, which is the voices that parents, teachers, and influencers, the way they speak to us then becomes how we speak to ourselves. So it's about being mindful and being aware, like, how am I speaking to myself right now? And how am I speaking to the children, right, in our lives? So we want to be able to use and have a reference point and a book and resource. And if you notice, I've made them butterflies, because what do we know about butterflies?
They transform.
They can transform. So I want children to realize, if we're feeling in that victim mindset, if we're aware of it and we're self-aware, then we can say, oh, is this going to help me? Is this the way I'm speaking to myself, saying I can't do it, and nobody likes me? Is this going to make my life better, worse, or the same? And at that moment, if you're self-aware, you can reach for and choose a better thought, a better feeling, and a better action. But if kids aren't even aware that this dialogue is happening in their head, they can't change it.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And so, of course, you noticed that you have the three colors, and the yellow is the hero voice. And of course, I wore yellow just for you today.
And you got the blue there too. So you got the victim and the hero voices going on. And I say to the children,
they're all battling with each other. Yes. And they do, right? That's what happens within us, right? Because in any situation, the different voices within us, the victim voice, the villain voice, and the hero voice, are kind of battling for dominance.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is which one are you allowing to take leadership of your life? Right. And that's where I say to kids, listen, my victim, villain, and hero voice show up as quickly, I may hear it all in 1 hour. And there's different people that might bring out my victim voice, right? That intimidate me, or I feel nervous around. There might be people that, aggravate me, or I see something and it pulls forth my angry villain voice, right? I see injustice. Or the hero in me, is feeling calm and confident and courageous and might show up. Or there's certain thing when I'm the teacher and my hero comes in to protect those kids. Right. And when I'm talking to maybe somebody who's intimidating to me, my victim shows up. And then I see something on the streets or on the news that might channel and bring forth my villain. So it's about normalizing it and saying, I'm not all good and somebody else is all bad, that this is normal. And if we can at least come to the table, how many times is the parent have the villain voice and we're screaming and yelling because we're out of control? Or, we see this dialogue of victim villain of our parents, right? A mom and a dad fighting, and one is passive and the one's aggressive. But imagine if we learned to have our chill chair, right? Go sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and let's pause, let's ponder, and let's plan how we're going to approach the situation. We don't want to come into conversation when we're really heated up. And so it's not just children who need these resources and these tools, but this book becomes a bridge. It becomes a conversation for adults and teachers and educators to learn this language. and then become a bridge to talk to young children about it and identify it.
And that is Harmony Hare and Her Three Voices, which is available on Amazon. So great stuff. This is, you're so passionate about this, and I can't help but feeling like a little kid in your classroom every time we chat. It's it's so amazing, but it's so enlightening too at the same time. And a lot of this, it makes sense when we hear it, especially those of us who are in the coaching space and try to help people to find their inner voice and to correct their self-talk and to kind of get their mindset. But you're right, it's always in the repairing mode, later in life. And it's just, wow, it's when it smack yourself in the middle of the forehead like a V8. I could have had a V8. Why didn't we think of this and start this younger? Because when we're younger, we let those other voices dictate our self-talk.
Right. And the thing is, it's a natural default. We either fall into victim voice and then we grow that, or we fall into villain. And as we grow it and we grow into those identities, like, oh, you're such a crybaby, or you're always you're so sensitive, or you're always so angry, or you never listen. And we start those 3 secondary voices, which I've also created mentors in the book that represent the 3 secondary voices, which is orange with mentor mouse, green teacher turtle, and purple guide goose. So these are our secondary voices, and we want to make sure that those voices are, helping children be able to redirect and pause and ponder and pick, a better identity voice that's leading. I always say, who do you want driving your vehicle? Do you want the victim or villain in the driver's seat? Or do you want them in the back seat? Yes, you want to listen to what they have to say, but you don't want them driving the bus. You don't want them driving the vehicle. And so it's natural to go into victim or villain. And most kids are quick to anger or quick to sad. But the hero voice, that quick to calm, confident, and courage, is a muscle like going to the gym. It's a muscle mass in the brain that we have to train our brain how to be calm, how to be courageous, how to be, kind, right? And say those things. And the biggest thing that when I've talked to people is they're like, the villain voice shows up not as much to others, but to myself. And I think absolutely. And, that's the biggest thing is, how do we self-talk? We're usually the hardest critic on ourselves. And to me, everything starts with our self-talk. It's like building a house and you don't have a solid foundation. We know what happens if you try to build a house and a blueprint and you don't have a solid foundation, is everything comes, like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, right? It's going to impact everything. So here's what blows my mind is, why haven't we figured this out sooner? And why, if we know self-talk is the foundation to everything else, why aren't we building that self-talk as a fundamental in our homes, in our schools, in our careers, in our business, in our classrooms, everywhere?
I think the only person who came close to doing that was Mr. Rogers.
Right? I try to be like Mr. Dress Up and Mr. Rogers, at Disney. But yeah, it's pretty.
Hey, we are having a wonderful conversation with Tammy Vallieres. Tammy is she is a coach. I left that out earlier intentionally. But she is a kind of a personal transformation coach, but also she is a kindergarten teacher, a primary school teacher who has learned how to take the concepts of self-talk and bring them into the youth to be able to help them to create their self-image at an earliest age and to understand how their self-talk can dominate their lives. And this has been a wonderful conversation, and we've got more time too. But I want to tell everybody, if you're just kind of tuning in around now, you want to go back and watch this from the beginning and catch all of what she's got to say. You want to get out there and grab your copy of Harmony Hare and Her Voices as well. and get Tammy's version or her volume 14 of Cracking the Rich Code, where she explains this on an adult level.
Right, it's
This is
the top down, bottom up. We need to reach
exactly so.
levels.
Yeah, so that we wind up with some kind of norms in society. Wouldn't that be amazing? Boy, I can't wait to see, 30, 40 years from now, those kids that you have made a fantastic foundation for, and what they're going to be like in their adult life, and what
I
their
really,
vision of themselves is.
I really say, if we imagine just for a moment, if we had this in kindergarten classrooms around the world, and we built and gave them this foundation, these would be the next thought leaders in 20 years.
Yeah.
And how powerful would that be if we gave children the tools, the language, and the resources to be able to be agents of their own life and to be creating their identity? Imagine 8 billion heroes on the planet. And we're all, communication, contribution, collaboration. We're working together. If we had an environmental issue, that's like I always say, how do you move a mountain? 8 billion people. If we all picked up one stone, that's how we do it. And the future is so uncertain. Children are going to need agency of their life, and they're going to need to learn how to work collectively and consciously. And that's why we use the V method. It represents peace education. And I'm not just a kindergarten teacher, I'm a classroom transformational teacher. So what I've been able to get in the classroom is literally utopiary worlds. Like I say, I'm the child whisperer, because I don't have behaviors in my classroom, because every little child is not stuck in their victim or villain, and they're not, triggering one another into that frequency. They're in their hero. And when all heroes help and they work together, hands are for helping, not for hurting. And they have that language, and they know how to self-regulate, and they know how to redirect one another. You create this head, heart, hands harmony. And that's really the world that I get to live in, is giving children agency of their life and empowering them so that they can become the best that they can be.
It is absolutely amazing and powerful. And I'm so glad that you're doing this. I wish you were doing this here, but we'll have to leave you in Canada for a little while longer. But we need
online learning, right? We can train.
Let's do it. Let's do this everywhere. Hey, I'm going to put your hero intelligence roadmap back up on the screen, so we could quickly, in the next few minutes, kind of go through what you're talking about with these various levels. And let me bring this back up. Come on.
We get to play with each other, right, John? This is playtime, right?
I know.
Fun, flow, frequency when we go into fun.
All right, here we go. Take us through this. So this is the Hero Intelligence Roadmap for people who are either not watching the screen at the moment, or maybe the chart is a little small on your screen. But go ahead and kind of walk us through this, Tammy.
So the whole piece is that everybody has a hero inside of us. And just like animal school, we all have a superpower. So John, I think I've asked you this before. What's your superpower?
My mouth.
Yeah, conversation, talking, podcast.
It is my compassion and desire to interact with others.
Yeah. And so
in a
what
positive way.
Absolutely. So that's what I love. And you're very inspirational. Like when people get off a call with you or a podcast, we feel inspired, we feel seen, and we feel valued. So your words have really a lot of power. And so I say we could name every animal's superpower, but we don't know our own. And isn't that a shame that that's not at the forefront of education? Imagine if bird didn't know its superpower was flying, and it went into a career unrelated to flying, right? Or a fish or a squirrel. And the whole thing is that children, you see their light, their joy, leave as they get older and older. So my whole thing is that we all have a hero inside of us, and our job is to discover our gifts and our natural abilities. And if we're stuck in positions and in places that we're not good at, what is our self-talk? If the bird is stuck in the water, his self-talk is going to be what? I'm no good at anything. I can't swim. And he's not going to realize that, oh, I'm in the wrong fit. But when you put that bird up in the sky, all of a sudden, they're what? They're a champion. They're amazing. They
Yeah,
feel good,
exactly.
right? So it's
Right, where we're
alignment.
allowed to use our superpower. Mhm.
Exactly, where we thrive. So this is the big thing, is we want to make sure that children are in alignment with what their purpose and passion and what their strengths and gifts are. So then that definitely starts the self-talk. So if I start to label children too early, like I was labeled learning disabled. Well, now what is my self-talk built around? My identity is I am learning disabled.
Learning
I am
disabled.
dyslexic. And I didn't discover my superpowers until I was in college. And then all of a sudden, psychology, I'm getting 98%. And all of a sudden, they're like, you're a genius. Like, literally, you're so smart. And I had to undo all those years of self-talk and labels because I didn't study self-talk and psychology in school. So that was not an opportunity for me to discover my strengths. I wasn't great in, let's say, math, because I wasn't, a very strong math student, logical, but intuitively and helping friends and kindness, I was like over the top skills, but that wasn't measured in school.
But you also probably, because you thought you weren't good at math, you weren't good at math.
Exactly.
But had you thought you were good at math, you could have improved your math.
If I had a different mindset, like I say to my kids, this might be hard for me. So I teach about Maggie Monkey. She loves to move her body. She teaches us about movement and exercise, and that's easy for her. But sitting and doing meditation is something hard, but she embraces challenges. She likes to challenge herself, so she gets better and better, where Turtle is really good at sitting still. But if he had to do, let's say, Maggie Monkey's exercises, that's harder. So we all have areas of strength and weaknesses, strengths and needs, right? But the problem is we magnify our needs and we minimize our strengths. And that then becomes our self-talk. And if we're aware of that, we would go into the next one. We're building our identity, then how we're talking to ourselves and how we can maybe flip the script is really powerful, because those kids that build resilience are the ones that say, you know what, I'm not going to listen to what they're saying. I'm going to keep going. Like, the tortoise and the hare, just keep going, persevere, right? What are you telling yourself over and over again? If I keep going again and again and again, I'm going to get better. And that's the 1% rule, right? And then we go into self-regulate. Now, do we know how to self-regulate? Do we know how to make better choices? Because if I keep doing things again and again and again in my victim voice, I'm going to build that voice up. And that's not the voice I want to be listening to day in and day out. So this is where we say to the children, what voice are you listening to? And guess what? If that voice is not making your life better, there's a different voice that you can choose. So that's where choices come in, and you can self-regulate. Then we go into our habits. The more we do things, right, it's like a pathway. We're going to ingrain ourselves into that. So we want to be helping children realize that you want to choose the voice, the habit, the choices that are going to make your life better, not worse, right? And how do you do that? So again, they need tools, resources, awareness. Now we're building into purpose. So now when you feel like, okay, I have a purpose, and we all have a purpose, we all have a superpower. And I say to my students, my job is to help you discover your superpower. What is it that you do better than anybody else in the classroom? And we're going to grow that ability. We're going to grow that awareness, and we're going to grow that identity in you. And now, instead of focusing on their weaknesses, we are focusing on their strengths. So every little child in my classroom feels super and amazing. And if they haven't discovered it yet, we're always looking for it. So that's the power of yet. And then we move into self-actualization, living and moving towards our best life. The way our three super brains, our head brain, our heart brain, and our gut brain are in alignment, right? So what we're thinking, what we're doing and feeling, and then intuitively we're connected to our higher purpose, our passions. And then we're living as adults, when we're living and breathing and doing and speaking in this high vibration and frequency, is how we become self-transcendent. And this is now how we're giving back to the world. Because as heroes, we give back to others.
And that is, for a lot of people, especially in kind of our field, like you are in this transcendent area where you're giving back. I had similar. I wasn't labeled as disabled, but I was made to feel less than others because I was a bullied little kid.
Right.
And it wasn't until I was in college that I started to come to some realization of who I was and what I could offer. And now I'm at the point of life where I'm giving back. I'm giving back as a coach, as a mentor, as a speaker, as a trainer, and trying to help people. This is my way. And so they think this is where we're all trying to get to.
Right.
And
wonderful... like at the bottom, it says the stories we tell ourselves shape the heroes
we become.
Right. So again, if I tell myself, well, who am I? And I'm not very smart. Am I able to contribute to society, or do I need to be taken care of? Right. So at this point, victim and villains are usually, needing care, but the heroes step into the world and they make amazing contributors. So imagine if we learned this like Olympic champions at the youngest of ages. Who could we become? What is the opportunity and potential at 8 and 9 and 16? Instead of having to do what we've done, and we had to learn all this stuff so late in life. This is where I really feel excited about what the possibility and the opportunity is.
Tammy, you are making huge waves in the world, and you're making a massive difference, and that's why we love you. You're doing such great stuff. Is the graphic, the Hero Intelligence Roadmap, is that on your website somewhere?
The one I just shared?
Yes.
No, but I'm hoping it will be somewhere eventually. We're just revamping our whole website right now. It's really exciting. So we'll see where it might be available and accessible, but that becomes my basic roadmap to explaining the work that we do and why this is the foundation book. Because if we teach children as young as 4 and 5 about their self-talk, then everything else becomes easier. And now we have a rock solid foundation to build everything else up.
And that is Harmony Hare and Her 3 Voices, which is your wonderful book. And people should check out your website. I know it's going through revamping right now, but still, raisingempoweredkids.com is a great place to go. There's still lots of information there. And it's a great place to understand these concepts that Tammy is talking about. And this particular graphic, whether or not it's on there now, it will be at some point. You can also just reach out to Tammy on LinkedIn. She's easy to find. And she can, once you connect with her, she's so wonderful about sharing her resources. It's been truly wonderful. And the final thing I want to say is the fact that the reason why we're here is because of Cracking the Rich Code and your chapter 3 in volume 14 of Cracking the Rich Code. So people should check that out and connect with you there, because your contact information is in there as well. So Tammy, we are already over our time. You see how quickly this whole thing goes. It's been a wonderful discussion. Thank you for taking the time to join us here. And anything you want to add real quick before we have to wrap this up?
Well, before we got on the call, I picked a card, and I love this card because it said, choose life's colors, which has so been fun. You can either paint a dark picture of life or choose a brighter, happier palette. The brilliant hues of joy, gratitude, and love will turn your life into a glowing work of art. So isn't that a great message to live on?
That is beautiful. Tammy, thank you again so much. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and keep on trucking out there. You're doing some really wonderful things.
Amazing. And I just want to say peace education, everybody. Let peace start with you.
I love it. I love it. And folks, I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode and getting to know more about Tammy. Reach out to her, go to her website, all that great stuff. It'll be in the show notes. And stay tuned for the next episode of Cracking the Rich Code podcast. It's been a wonderful experience. Take care and have a great day.